Okay, let's get this show on the road, as they say. I have in front of me the first presentation for CP 599. It probably looks way more serious than it is, so just chillax. The first part is dedicated to getting to know the university just a bit. The only thing that's missing in the presentation, because I have not received it until now, is Deanna's photo, but we'll take care of that later. Maybe I'll upload an updated presentation just so you can see her face, so you know her. I think it's way more welcoming. Um, and then we'll start talking about research, the advantages and disadvantages of research. Things are kind of logical, and we'll go into exactly how research is conducted at the University of Mary. So this presentation is one of the most important that you'll get, in the sense that it starts the whole journey with your research, excuse me, and it kind of sets what you can expect. And of course, this is not the only information you're going to get on it. We're going to discuss this and we're going to take care of this, but it's definitely a first step towards starting the whole process. All right, so if you look at the third slide, you can see that the University of Mary has basically four schools. The School of Health Sciences, which we are part of, and you are part of as well. The School of Business, the School of Education, and the School of Arts and Sciences. And then within the School of Health Sciences, we have the Department of Exercise Physiology. And within the Department of Exercise Physiology, we have a bachelor's degree in exercise science. I should say a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science, and then a Master's of Science in Clinical Exercise Physiology. That's you guys. If you look at the whole School of Health Sciences, just so you know, kind of in general, what you're part of, we have a huge division of nursing with several programs. We have a Department of Physical Therapy that offers a doctorate. The nursing, by the way, offers everything, up to a doctorate, many programs. We have the Department of Occupational Therapy that is transitioning from a master's degree level to a doctorate degree level starting 2018. We have the Department of Kinesiology and Athletic Training. It's more athletic training at the bachelor's degree, and then kinesiology at the master's degree. We have the Department of Respiratory Therapy, where you can have both a first and a bachelor's and a master's degree. And we have the Department of Speech and Language Pathology that are currently offering a bachelor's degree and working on a master's degree. And then there's us. So that's the school. It's one of the biggest schools here at the University of Mary. Um, the next slide, your fifth slide, shows Dr. Jody Roller, which you are going to meet during lab week. She is the Dean of the School of Health Sciences. She has one doctorate in education and one in physical therapy. And then the missing person there is Deanna, which is the administrative assistant for the department. And she'll probably reach out to you here and there. You'll meet her here and there. She might be CC'd to emails here and there. So hopefully you'll get to meet her and say hello. Then you can see the full-time faculty. Most of you have probably met Jill and I already, interviewing or whatnot. You've definitely met me. And what I decided to write here shortly is our academic rank and our position, our official title, and then the courses that we will be teaching you. So you have Dr. Jill Newstad, which is the department chair. You have me. I'm in charge of the master's degree in research in the department. You have Jason Kobus, which has his master's of arts in clinical exercise physiology and a bachelor's degree in athletic training, that will be in charge of your field work, aka internships, and you'll meet him this lab week as well. And then we have Kayla Dressler, MS, which is in charge of our clinic here. And you'll meet her during lab week as well, and she's going to teach you a class in your second year of the program. And you'll meet all of us during lab week. Each of us will be giving you different content, but I think it's fair to say that the majority of courses and content, definitely in lab weeks, is taught by Jill and I combined. So I guess that's just, that's fair to say. Okay, those were the first 6 slides. Then we have adjunct faculty. So you have Dr. Anita Wirtz that offers an elective pertaining to psychology. You have Jenny Schmidt, pertaining to nutrition, and that is too an elective. You have to choose one or the other between these two courses. We have Dr. Wade Kuhlman, that is actually full faculty at the School of Education, and you'll be taking 2 courses with him unless you have a waiver. And then we have a really new and exciting addition to our program, and that's Dr. Patricia Ratliff, which will be teaching you in your second year the course about behavior theories and education. Okay, then you have your peers to the cohort, and then you have the second year students, and I thought it would be just nice to know their names in advance, although we're gonna visit and have fun and work together in lab week. We have decided to harness their experience from the first year coming into the second year to help you out with lab week with tips and explain and give you the goods and bads and whatever. Okay, so that's about where we are at. Can you see my babies? Love them. All right, let's talk a bit about research, understanding research, and from there we'll take it to actually how we're going to conduct research here at the university. Everything is logical. I mean, if you have or not experience in research, don't worry. We'll walk you through it and everything will be just fine. Okay. Okay, so the purposes of the course, first of all, this $5.99 is the opening course of Professional Distinction in Research. It used to be all about research, and then we figured out and understood that it would be great to also develop your professional distinction ability. If you think about what professional distinction is, it's very simple. It's the answer to what gets you your next job, what gets you your next position, what gets you your next raise. It's professional distinction. And we're going to work on that, and we're going to make sure that you distinct yourself from others. And so this course is going to serve as an introduction to research. It's going to explain the importance of research, the advantages, the disadvantages, how do we conduct research here at the university. It is going to work on developing your portfolio and your CV and your resume. That's not the same thing. There's a difference between the two of them. We're going to develop your scholarship abilities and understanding of scholarship, and we are going to develop your job seeking skills. Sounds pretty promising if you ask me, right? So that's that. Okay, so you are advised, and this is applicable to any course, definitely of mine, but in general, to read the presentations, to communicate any questions that you have, to watch the accommodating videos. If you're listening to this, it means that you're already doing it. And read the accompanying book if there's a book assigned. Okay, let's talk about the process of research and what is the purpose of conducting research. So first of all, it's to investigate um, research questions, meaning that research is supposed to answer some kind of question. We would like that question to be a question never asked before or not well established, and we are offering through different venues the answer to this question. For instance, what is the effect of genes on the ability to exercise? Or what is the effect of exercise on gene expression? What is the effect of exercise on blood pressure, and so on and so forth? And in this case, part of the questions have been answered, but we're looking to try and contribute to the world by answering questions that haven't been answered. We can also further establish the body of knowledge that exists. So you can say, hey, this was already checked, but they only checked 30 people. We want to check 300 and see what happens. The third thing is you might want to lead the invention or improvement of an existing tool. For instance, at the University of Mary, we started a tradition since I've gotten here of producing new exercise testing protocols. We actually have 3 that we've produced, and we're going to continue to work on them. 2 of them are actually pretty good. And this year, with the undergraduate, we're producing a anaerobic maximal performance test for football players. So that is spot on what is written here on number 3, and then you give the theory and the actual applications and so on and so forth. You want to also offer a structured process to validate data while answering the questions at hand. The advantages of research: everything is conducted usually according to a well-defined process if you play according to the rules. You statistically analyze it and prove what you're saying. You're not just making up things. It induces academic discussion. It develops one's critical thinking, and this is probably, in my opinion, why I insist on you guys conducting research. I think that you are going to be excellent clinicians. We are going to make sure of that. But I think that a clinician, especially a good one, needs to have critical thinking. Our field is constantly changing. Equipment, tools, medications are changing. Exercise prescription is changing, and you have to have that critical thinking ability and tools to deal with that. And you'll probably not understand the contribution of research to your life and to your professionalism until you graduate. But I promise you, it's definitely developing you as a person and as a professional. And I think that's extremely important, to the extent where 7 credits of the program are dedicated to that and professional distinction. And they come together. Of course, it prevents random conclusions and practice. In addition, it promotes continued thought, constantly thinking about things. Is this the truth? Is this how it's supposed to be? Can I do it any better? It promotes science, obviously. It promotes excellence, indeed. And it serves as a logical link to the actual field work conducted by professionals. And I think that research advances the field, and then the feedback from the field advances research. It's linked, it's a circle. They're not isolated at all. It can be medications, it can be machines, tools that back and forth between researchers and clinicians, and hopefully clinicians that are researchers, you know, that that pushes the field forward. Research does have disadvantages. It's usually expensive. That's easy to understand. Um, it's usually based on statistical projections, than studies of the whole population. No one really checks how, or has checked, or will ever check. If you ask me, that's just crazy in the tools that we have today, or the lack of, the effect of exercise on gene expression in 7.1 billion people. Not happening. So you have a smaller population, and you're concluding or projecting towards the whole. There are rules on how to do that, but it's never going to be perfect. It can be subjective. It may be theoretical only. It may be inaccurate. Most likely is, to a certain extent. And there's a certain extent of inaccuracy that we can live with, and a certain extent that we can't and will not. It really depends, like anything else, on the researcher's experience and professionalism. It also depends on the peer reviewer's experience, because when things are published, they go through a peer review process, and articles change, and then what you see is not exactly always what the researcher wanted to say. It really depends on how you perceive the data and what you decide to do with it. And then it does not necessarily develop tools that can be utilized in the field, and people tend to think, well, why are you investing time on that? Well, every piece of information has its importance, and there's a time to use each and every one of what you've developed. I can tell you that a very small percent, which I'm not sure what, I'm pretty sure it's less than 1% of research is dedicated to the invention and application of tools, new ones at least. Okay, we want your data to be published, me especially. I'm well published, and I think that it's amazing that if you're doing something, why not put a dent in the world? So you'll not only be CPs, you'll also be dentists, leaving your mark on the world. And we want to publish our knowledge and your data, and we want it to be published in peer-reviewed journals. And the importance of that is not living in your own world. We want other people to look at what we've done and say, hey, this is good enough, or I suggest that you do this and do that. And I often submit articles for publication, and I get remarks. When I was young, I would get pissed off. Nowadays, I try and understand the remark. I try and understand, how does this improve what I'm offering, and usually it does improve. Usually, it's still more work, but it improves the outcome that you're offering. And it's interesting to see how people read something and think about things you never thought would be a problem, or information that you could add, or taking the same information and presenting it in a different way and making a whole new point. And you're going to be reviewed. You're going to be reviewed by your peers. You're going to be reviewed by your instructors. And just use it as a way to advance. Be open to the possibilities that you're not perfect, that you have something to learn, and that there are different ways to achieve the same goal. And you'll be fine. Okay, so let's start talking. Let's get to the point, so to speak, right? Let's start going in detail over the research process that you're going to be part of in the next 2 years, hopefully only 2 years. Please make it only 2 years if you don't mind, here at the university. And most universities will probably follow a similar path, but what I wrote here is very specific to the university. Okay, so your research path. First of all, you have to decide if you want a thesis or a research project. The difference at the University of Mary, and I insist on this, is not in the number of subjects. It's not in anything besides the fact that a thesis is reviewed by a thesis defense committee that is made up of three people that I decide who they are, not you, as is done in other universities. There's a committee chair, there's your mentor or advisor, and then another person. What happens is that I address people to be on the committee. I authorize them. If you think that it's not in your best interest, or that someone has a grudge against you or something like that, I don't know why, you can write to me within 2 weeks of receiving my email with your committee members and say, hey, I don't want Moran on my committee because he's expressed his opinion about my topic or my hairstyle or my shirt and shoes, and I think he has something against me, and I'll consider it. And obviously it has to be well proven and documented and backed up. Sorry, I have an itch. Only human, you know. And I'll consider it and then decide. My decision is final, but haven't had problem with that yet. I choose people to be on your committee that I believe can truly evaluate your work, contribute to it in a pleasant and professional manner. And when you write on your CV or resume, probably the CV, who was on your committee, people will say, okay, this is high quality and this works in favor of this person. Basically, you're going to submit the same amount of chapters. You're going to write the same extent of words, give or take a bit. You're going to conduct research almost the same way. That's the only difference between the two paths. And we invite people to have a full thesis. It doesn't take much more time to have a thesis in this case, so why not? Okay, I'm gonna skip about the differences between institutes. Things here are very simple. I think you can read them. Talked about this. Let's see. Same amount of people. What I would say is that you'll be receiving a handbook that is specific to research, and then one handbook that is in general for the whole program. That research handbook is so-called, no offense, your Bible. Read it. Work according to it. Everything has to be done according to that research handbook. When we evaluate your work, when we expect you to do something, it's according to that handbook. It's a bit long, but still doable, and you definitely want to visit it earlier than later. And I had students after a year, you're grown-ups. I'm not going to supervise every breath and word that you take. But I had students that told me that they read the research handbook only a year after they started the program. That's not wise, not working to your advantage. So once you get it, please read it. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, so you're going to have what's called a research advisor. I like to think of our advisors as mentors. I don't want them just to be technical with you and just teach you how to do things. I want them to care about you in a more extensive way. Really get to know you as a person and mentor you, give you an experience for life and not just to get done with an assignment. Um, but one of the things that you have to identify as soon as possible, yesterday if possible, is your research advisor or mentor. The research advisor or mentor can be anyone with a doctorate degree that is relevant, to the field. In our department, it can either be Jill or me. There's a certain advantage to having an advisor from within the system, but it's not necessarily the only way to go about things. You can approach a professor that you know from your bachelor's degree or in the area and ask them to advise you. What I want to make clear is that once they agree to advise you, they're not agreeing to be on your committee only. They are supposed to develop the topic and design with you. They are supposed to write the IRB with you. They are supposed to respond to any IRB remarks. They are supposed to help you with data collection. They are supposed to help you with writing the chapters. They're supposed to help you with everything leading to your evaluation of work or defense of thesis. And then they'll also be on the committee. So usually these people are called committee chairs or thesis committee chairs in other universities. We've decided that the committee chair here is someone from the university that is not your advisor, that makes sure that the committee operates according to our needs. But this person will act as what's called in other universities as your committee chair. They will approve or not your topic and design, and they will lead you through everything. So you want to make sure that they understand the extent of their commitment. Everything goes through them, everything. They're basically leading the process with you, and they have to be on board with it, and they have to have enough time. And sorry, they have to agree to do it for free. Don't worry, if you can't find someone like that, we'll appoint you someone. But our first wish is that you find someone that you want to work with. You are not limited with what you can do as long as it's legal and ethical. We are not limiting you to just what Jill and I like to do. If you have something that is close to heart, a topic that is close to heart, and is doable, and I'll explain what doable means in my book, by all means, go ahead. I do want to make sure that you understand that all the costs of research is on you. You won't have time, most likely, to submit grants in advance, at least not if you want your degree conferred within 2 years. But you can, apply for grants afterwards or in the middle. But at first you're going to have to pay. That's why I like to keep things low key. We like to find solutions that do not add substantial costs to your research. Now, since you don't have a topic and design yet, I can't tell you, hey, this is what it's going to cost you. But that is one of the steps of the way. Identifying what are the needs in order to complete your topic and design, and then evaluating the cost and the feasibility and what does this mean. Okay, but we're not there yet, but it's gonna come, and it's gonna come really fast. Okay, you don't do anything without your mentor's approval, and then once we have a topic and design, I kind of like to approve it as well, although I don't tend to stir any problems. I usually don't have a problem with the topics and designs, and if I think it will pass an IRB, then it goes forward. If not, I give my feedback back to you and your mentor, because every IRB committee is different in every institution, and I know ours best. Let's see. At the end of the road, if you're defending your thesis, then you have 3 people, 15 minutes with each one of them. So you're going back and forth for 45 minutes with the committee members. At the end, they give you immediately their decision. We take about 10 minutes to go into a different room, and we just give you our decision immediately. I don't see a reason for you to have a heart attack waiting to see what happened. And then obviously, if all 3 committee members decided that you defended with honors, it will be indicated by the department. You'll receive a letter that you've defended with honors. If 2 or more decided that you pass, then you pass. If you haven't passed, then we will work on your ability to defend a bit more. We'll identify your weak spots and what caused you not to pass, and we'll work on it, and we'll schedule another defense, and we'll do our best. Never happened before to me, but and I'm hoping it never does, but it's in theory a possibility. Let's see. If you, no matter what, you need a data collection supervisor. It can be your mentor, or it can be someone else with at least a master's degree and experience in data collection. And that person needs to be with you when you collect data. We don't want you doing that on your own. We haven't had a problem as of yet with anyone finding such a person, so you should be fine with that. And you can just read about that in the presentation. It's kind of straightforward and simple. Any data collection supervisor has to be approved by me. I want their CV or resume. I want their approval that they agree to be your data collection supervisor, and you'll be receiving forms for everything, and they have to sign it, and it has to be sent back to me. I need the originals, please. So if you want an answer if they're authorized or not, you can scan everything, but I need also the originals to have on file. Okay, obviously they have to agree to supervise your data collection for free. Let's talk about finding a topic and design for your research. You'll be receiving an assignment today within the course to start thinking about things, but let's look at things, and this is, I'm kind of going to go over the presentation here in great detail so there's no mistakes. It's important to first of all understand and analyze the field, understand what are the possibilities there. Then the topic has to be current and of importance to the field. I'm not letting you research the effect of coffee on blood pressure or heart rate. It's been done in the 1960s. So we want to add something new. It has to be current. It has to be of value to the field. It must pertain to a research question never asked before. That's my hope, that you try and identify something that has never been done before. I think that adds a lot to the program's reputation and to your reputation. In certain situations, we might add to the current body of knowledge, but I would prefer something that has never been done before. It's okay to even challenge an existing theory or existing knowledge. That's fine too. I've done that regarding the Fick equation in my doctorate. I suffered a great deal for daring to do that, but I also proved my point at the end. And talk about that when we meet in lab week. Somewhere along the way, in these 2 years, you'll hear my story. One of the things that might happen if you approach an external mentor is that they'll say, hey, all I care about is, I'm making this up, nutritional supplements and exercise. They might confine you to their field of interest, and then you decide. You either take the deal or not. So just so you know. All topics have to be approved by me. All topics have to be approved by the IRB committee, which we will talk about in a minute. Obviously, if there's any ethical problems with your topic and design, if the costs are too high, and and we come to the conclusion that you don't want to invest $6,000, please don't. Just to have a master's degree, then it's off the table. And any topic that is way above your knowledge level. No offense, but we don't know everything. And if I think that your ability to deal with the essays needed to collect data, with the ability to interpret data and deal with it and take it towards a discussion within your submitted chapters, if I think that you're not able to do it, I'm not going to authorize it. Because part of my job is being the guardian and making sure that you're not getting in trouble. So that might happen as well. My advice, don't try and save the world. Get things done. Do it well. Don't get me wrong. Do it well. We won't let you not do it well. But don't go overboard. Don't say, hey, I want 200 subjects. I want 50 of them to have, have undergone a heart transplant and lung transplant, and I want to check people on Mars. Chillax, relax. No, not happening, because you'll never, ever graduate. Not happening. This should make you happy, by the way. Lack of resources. Okay, let's say you decide that you want to do something with a DEXA. Do you have a DEXA? Does any facility around you have a DEXA? Will they allow you to use the DEXA? What are the resources that you have? We need to keep our feet on the ground and make it feasible. If the design is too complicated, not allowing you to actually answer the question or prove it to the minimum level required, not going to authorize that. Look, if you come to me and I understand that your data collection is going to take a year, the chances of you graduating or having your degree conferred, May of the second academic year, probably slim to none. If you insist on this topic and design, that's fine, but you're going to get an official warning or email informing you that these are the consequences. And then, I just don't want any complaints. If you don't care if you graduate within 3 or 4 years, sure, let's do whatever you want. If it's interesting and it, complies with everything I said and will say, sure, I don't have a problem. It's your life. I just want to be fair and make sure that you understand the implications, the financial and degree conferring implications of whatever we decide. Okay, next, let's see. So I'm a simple guy. I think that simplicity works just fine. It's always easy to complicate things. It's harder to keep them simple. So think about a simple design. I won't let you keep it too simple, though. But it can be still very simple. As you can see, hopefully, you can be done with data collection by the middle of the fourth term of the program. That would be the middle of fall semester of your second year, because we need the rest of the time to write and get everything done. I suggest that you take that point of time and start reverse engineering what you have to do and how fast, and it is fast, by the way, to get it done. Your design must always include at least one clinical group. In our case, we're going to define that as at least obese. So if you want to compare healthy populations with athletic populations, I'm not going to authorize that. Your degree is in clinical exercise physiology, not applied exercise physiology. So one group at least has to be with a clinical characteristic. And you can compare clinical groups with athletes if you want to, or healthy people, but one of the groups has to be clinical. If you decide to have only one group, it's clinical. You're going to have at least 10 subjects in a group. That's the N number. That means that that number is how many people actually went through the whole process. So you can have 3 groups of 10, or 2 groups of 15, or 1 group of 30. One of them has to be clinical. Let's see. You can have more than one question. That's fine. Most designs have more than one question asked. Usually there's a major research question and then, sub-major or secondary research questions that happen to be answered. If you can include as much variables as possible without drowning, and that's part of what your research mentor will hold you hand in hand and make sure that you don't drown, that's great. Whatever you can collect data, why not? So then you have a table with the sample size and the numbers and all the possibilities. I think it's pretty straightforward, and it's basically what I just told you. Then you have the research hypothesis. The hypothesis is what you think is going to happen. Okay, the hypothesis is actually you trying to guess or estimate what the answer to your research question is going to be. For example, my research question is how many of you are actually going to see this video? My hypothesis is that 6 of you are going to see this video, the whole cohort. And then I'll actually collect data and see how many of you actually did see the video. I'm betting it's 6. So the hypothesis is what exactly you believe is going to happen. Then you can see, what do you think you're going to find? To what extent? What are the major trends that you think you're gonna find? And at the end of the process, your hypothesis is either rejected or accepted. Here's the thing. We take 15 women, 15 men, same ages, and we exercise test them. And we want to see what their aerobic capacity, their ability to deliver, extract, and utilize oxygen is. And my hypothesis is that it's going to be higher in men. So we conduct the research. And we check. And we find out that I was right. So in this case, the hypothesis was not rejected, it was accepted. But if I was wrong, then the hypothesis was rejected. And now we discuss it. Why did this happen? How did this happen? Is there any knowledge out there pertaining to this that could have helped us or can help us understand why this happened? And so on and so forth. Okay. Let's see. So, proceeding with the topic and design or not. What are the considerations? I'll go through this really fast because we already talked about this. 1. Feasibility of the design and topic. Can it be done? Can you do it? Not someone else, you. 2. The time to completion. Very important. Ethical issues. We don't accept ethical issues. Safety issues. Not going to happen. Financial issues. That depends on you. You're paying for everything. Okay, let's try and keep it as low as possible. I'm guessing you're kind of going to agree with me. But if you want to go all out, that's fine. You're paying for everything. Okay, now one of the more important parts. We have a topic and design, figured out. Now we want official approval of the University of Mary IRB committee to start. Without the IRB committee approval, nothing is done. You don't approach people to ask them if they're willing to participate. You don't collect data. Nothing until you have an official approval from the university. Only then can you approach people. Only then you can ask them, do you perhaps want to... Nothing before that. That includes flyers, brochures, any emails, any kind of communication with anyone that might participate in your research. I'll be sending to you the 4 parts of the IRB. We will go over them. We will analyze them. I will teach you how to do it. You will submit drafts to your advisor. You will receive remarks. You will resubmit after you have tweaked it until your advisor thinks that this is good enough to go to the IRB. The IRB looks at it, either has its remarks, and the remarks can be of two kinds of nature. 1, this has to be changed in order for the IRB to be approved. Or we recommend that you change something, but you don't have to. So they're teaching you and giving you from their experience and advice in order to make your research better. Either way, you address the remarks, resubmit. Okay? You want this process to happen as little as possible because you're losing time. It can take them up to a month sometimes, and even more, by the way, to even give you remarks. And at that time, you're not advancing. You're losing time, and time is the most valuable thing that you have right now. Do everything to not lose time, and I'll do the same. Okay, the IRB is an internal committee. 5 to 6 people from other departments sit and read your offer. I want to tell you they're not from our field. They have no idea what you're talking about. And even the simplest of things may come back as a remark. But we'll work on that, and I'll explain that to you. Don't take anything for granted. They are not exercise sciences. They are not clinical exercise physiology or exercise physiology. They can be from the Department of Psychology, from the Department of Business. They have no idea what lactate is. You're going to have to spill it out for them. And that is very important to emphasize. Do not take anything for granted when you're writing the IRB, and your mentor has to make sure that you're not. Extremely important. You're going to lose time over this. So be fanatic about that. That's one of the things that I really want you to be a bit radical about. Reading it and asking yourself, did I take this for granted? Did they understand? Okay? They have no idea what exercise testing is. They have no idea why we take lactate. They have no idea what you're going to do with glucose. You have to explain the variable. How is it taken? Why is it taken? What can you conclude out of this? And how important is it to poke this person's finger? Because what they have to ask, and this is a major, major question for the IRB committee, do these people really have to undergo everything that you wrote that you're doing to them? Or can we spare them the experience and the privilege? That is a major question you're going to have to convince them. Okay? Of course, the higher the risk to the subjects, the more you're going to have to convince them about that. That's an extremely important question to be able to answer. Okay, so we submit the, wait a minute, the cable just got here tangled. There we go. Sorry about that. We submit the 4 parts. At some point it gets approved, faster, slower, depends on us, depends on them. You have IRB approval. Once you have IRB approval, if you're smart, you're going to submit any kind of marketing materials that you intend to use to the committee. The first time everything is approved, now you can start recruiting your subjects and collect data immediately. The approval by the IRB committee is good for 1 year. So if you pass that 1 year mark, we're going to have to ask to have the IRB topic extended. I take care of that. I make sure that we're on top of things in a timely manner, and that's about it. Okay, let's see. Okay, very important, extremely important. The first thing that we're going to make you do is make sure that you don't need to submit another IRB. So let's say you live in Idaho, California, Illinois, doesn't really matter, Montana, doesn't matter. If you want to use another facility, you have to have one of 2 things. Either a written letter of authorization, which I will supply you with, that they do not demand an IRB, or that you have achieved their approval of the IRB. You might have to submit 2 IRBs. We'll do it fast. We'll do it immediately. Once you have the approval from the university and that facility, then you can start collecting data. You are not collecting data. You are not talking to anyone that is a potential subject if you don't have those 2 IRBs approved if you need to. Okay? This is a serious matter. Don't play around with that. And I won't let you either. So we need to get these IRBs approved really fast. Any changes, no matter what, has to have the IRB's approval. Maybe even 2 IRB's approval. Obviously, it's easier to change anything that has nothing to do with the protocol. If you're lowering the risk for the subjects, easier to accept. If you're raising the risk level to their health and well-being, psychologically as well, way harder to get approved. But still doable. It means that we need to submit the second part of the IRB documents and have it approved. Usually it goes through. Haven't met much trouble with that because you're also going to be advised and mentored. How critical is this for the matter. A research map. We are going to produce a research map. I think it's very important for you to have a map of what you intend to do. It's like a strategic plan. How am I going to get this done? And we'll do that together as part of the course. And basically you can read about this. It includes, the topic and design and titles and subtitles and chapters and so on and so forth, and identifying everything that is crucial to have your research done on time. Let's see. One of the most important legal aspects of the process is having subjects sign what we called an informed consent form. That we will build that, we will write that and establish that together. It's actually part 3 of the IRB process and authorization, and they are extremely sensitive to that. So are we. Basically, that is the legal agreement between us and you and the subjects. The bottom line of the informed consent form is that no one can say, hey, you didn't tell me you were going to do this and that. So that's something that we don't want happening. Subject enrollment or rejection. Obviously, if they don't sign the informed consent, they're not in. If they have any exclusion criteria applied to them, they're not in. And that is done after you have the informed consent signed, and then they'll undergo an interview using usually a health history questionnaire that you'll learn about. And then you see, is there any reason not to include them in research? For instance, if you want to eliminate the effects of sports injuries on performance, then you want people that have never been injured before or are not suffering within a certain time of data collection from any sports injury. But if someone comes, let's say you say, has not endured any sports injury of any kind within the last half year, okay? And then you find out that someone had a sport injury 3 months ago, they can't be your subject because they have, and they meet one of your exclusion criteria. Obviously, they also have to meet your inclusion criteria. So let's say you want to conduct research with someone that has heart failure. They have to have heart failure to be in the in your research study, and also have not meet any of the exclusion criteria. And that's kind of logical and simple. So health history, then you're going to risk stratify them. Jill is going to teach you how to do that in her course, and they have to withstand your inclusion criteria for risk stratification. That's pretty simple. Then you're going to collect data. You're going to be diligent about it. The faster you can get it done according to your topic and design, the better. There is never and will never be a bad implication to data being collected as fast as possible, legally, ethically, and according to what you write to the IRB. But the earlier you can get done with this, the better. I cannot emphasize that enough. We need to get this done. This is the most probable reason why you won't have your degree conferred. I'm not concerned about lab weeks as much. I'm not concerned about courses as much. We've never had problems with that. But students that procrastinated with research is not going away until you're done. The courses are 15 weeks. They start, they end, no matter what. Worst case scenario, you take them again. I don't know. We find solutions. But Research is not going away. You have to have it as a top priority. It's the number one priority to get done with, and it starts with getting the IRB done. Okay? I don't mean to frighten you, but I don't mean to lie to you either. This is the truth. We'll talk about it on lab week, believe me. And you'll see that I am pushing you to your limits to get your IRB approved ASAP and to get data collected ASAP. And if we can get to the second year of your program